Hey everyone, welcome to Mondays with Amanda. Good to have you here. Welcome to this new year, right? Like cool stuff going on. Make sure you guys can hear me fine. Hi everyone, as you log on, please say hi to me. Let me know what you did for New Year's. We watched Miracle the hockey game and we played games. We played a game called Chameleon and Throw Burrito, which I actually think is really fun. I'm just not that quick at grabbing the burritos to throw them at people. And we also played, oh God, what's the name of that card game? Oh, I can't remember now. There's so many new card games. Remember back in the day when there was not that many card games? Like you'd have to go to the game store to find card games. But anyways, as you hop on, give me some hearts. Let me know that you are happy to be here today with Mondays with Amanda. I'm glad to be here with you. I would give you some hearts if I could, but I can't do that right now. Okay, so we've got some really cool stuff coming up next week. I'm going to tell you about something that I'm putting together with Candy Ueta. She is an occupational therapist, and we're putting together a workshop next week that I'm going to tell you about at the end of the live today. So make sure that you stick around so you can hear more about what we're offering next week for your uniquely wired kiddos. All right, let's take a look at who's saying hi to me. Let's see comments. Hi, Gail and Joanne. Good to have you guys here. What did you do for New Year's? Did you do something that you always do? Did you do something that was new? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear what you guys had going on. I told you about my games, right? All right, so let's talk about number one, the wins. I've got some cool wins I want to read with you guys today, and I'm going to be looking over here at my computer, so I apologize. You're seeing the side of my face. All right, so we have 4 different wins I want to share with you, and you know, it's really interesting because we live in a time, and I saw this really cool cartoon that showed a television set with like this terrible lightning rainstorm, right? And so there was a man holding an umbrella over his head, looking at this television screen with all this rain and lightning and this terrible storm. But if you looked beyond the television screen outside, it was sunshiny and warm. And I think we are in a time right now where there's a lot of talk, there is a lot of argument, there is a lot of disagreement, and there's a lot of people saying really that the world is coming to an end, right? Like our society is pulling apart, that there's so much disagreement, and there is a lot of disagreement. But I want to propose that things are better than they ever have been for many of the families that have come to the workshop, that are a part of this group, that your parenting has improved, your family has increased peace and confidence and connection. So we can sit and stare at the television screen, literally stare at the television screen, right? Because they're always talking about the things that aren't going right. Or we can take a look around us, take a few breaths, and realize we don't know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, but we can definitely practice being in this present moment. So I'm going to invite you to all come to this present moment with me right now. And it takes just a tiny bit of intention and a few breaths. So, you know, there's lots of different ways I've shown you guys. Today, I'm just going to breathe with you. You're welcome to do some cross crawls, or you can rub right here, right below your collarbone, and those tiny, these are called brain buttons. And then putting your hand over your belly and rub those. Sometimes those are really tender on people. But as you rub those, and then I put my hand is flat right in front of my belly button. Okay, so I just rub those and breathe. Hold for a couple seconds. And then let it all out. Hold for a couple seconds. Breathe in. Hold for a couple seconds. Breathe out. Okay. So, thank you for coming to this present moment. It helps us all think a little straighter. It helps us with greater just self-regulation, right? We had that workshop last week that was really amazing. I loved it. There was a great show of families on there talking about the power of self-regulation, how we are so key to that as the caregivers in our homes. And so practicing our own self-regulation is going to in turn help your child learn to self-regulate, okay? We are the leaders. We're the ones that we are looked to, especially for the mother of the home. Oftentimes we are the leader and everyone's looking toward us. You know that saying that if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy, right? I used to hate hearing that, but it's also an empowering thing that our influence as a mother, as a woman, as a caregiver has such an impact on our children. So as we get ourselves in alignment with that deeper, peaceful part of us, no matter what's going on around us, as we take the time to nurture ourselves through our own regulation, then we are able to nurture our kids. Okay, with all of that, let's go over some of our wins today. Okay, so Lisa Cash wrote, I'm taking care of myself. That's awesome. Getting to bed at a reasonable time, making sure I'm eating real food, not just making food for my daughter and then eating junk myself. That's awesome, actually. Because sometimes we will take care of our kids better than we'll take care of ourselves. And if we go back to that idea of the oxygen mask, right? On the airplane, you're supposed to put your own oxygen mask on first and then help those around you, right? Because you need enough of that oxygen so that you can think clearly to help those around you. And it goes the same with food. It's the same with exercise. It's the same with sleep, okay? And doing these self-regulating activities, right? Whether it be meditation or breathing or taking a walk, right? Or doing some movements. We'll talk about some movements today. Yes, there's so much doom and gloom. And here's the thing, that whatever you focus on, more shows up. Because our brains are so incredible. They are always looking for proof around your thoughts. And so you probably noticed, and I'm going to get to the next wins, you probably noticed I started a 30-day thoughts are thing. It's not really a challenge. It's just an invitation to consider what thoughts you have that you're nurturing in your brain. And this is really to introduce to your own children and your family. So these are these small, very small talking points that you could have at breakfast, or you could have right before bed, or maybe at dinner. We say, okay, so for today, you could pull it up on your phone. Today, I'll pull that book out. Here's the book, Thoughts Are Things. And so for today, it's about momentum. So momentum works for cars and people. And it just goes into talking about as we start a habit or as we start to do something and we consistently do it every day, just a little bit, we create this momentum. Okay. And this book is fabulous because there's a wonderful mantra in there and some affirmations that are so helpful for our families and our kids. And the affirmation is, I'm smart, happy, and healthy. My parents love me. God has given me many gifts. I can do anything I want to if I make a plan, concentrate, and work toward it every day. Okay. And so each day there's a small little bit of advice, and I've been putting that and sending that into our group. So consider looking over that. So that's something that's been one of my goals this month, to work with my kids. And so I would encourage you to do that as well. And it's made a huge difference because I'm starting to recognize, oh, the thoughts I have, whether they're good, whether they're negative, whatever I focus on, I create more of. So if we're staring at that screen that's telling us all that negative stuff that's going on, we will start to see it everywhere, and we'll actually feel somewhat drawn toward the negativity, because then we feel validated that, oh, I was right. You know, things are kind of bad in the world and people don't care about each other as much, which I don't actually believe. I think we are in a heightened state, but we also have an opportunity to tap into greater and deeper love with those around us. And we're really defining who we are. So let's see. Somehow I got kicked out of this. Hold on one sec. Okay, I'm back. Someone tried to call me. That might happen again. Sorry, guys. Hopefully you can hear me just fine. Okay, so I was talking about what we focus on, we create more of. Okay, so let's take a look at Lorraine also sent in a win. It said, we had a family meeting tonight and we came up with new goals for 2021. The boys gave us lots of ideas and we're so happy. The major #win was that my uniquely wired child remembered that I told him about finding the anchor. So we talked about in the self-regulation class about finding an anchor, an image, a mantra, your vision for your family, and anchoring into that when things feel like they're getting out of control. And as you anchor into that picture or your vision or your goal in your family, you're able to stay self-regulated so you can help your child. And he is going to work on having an anchor too, so that he doesn't blow up when he gets upset. I cried. He listened and really understanding what I'm saying. Oh, he's listening and really understanding what I'm saying. We may have some real difficult moments, but I know that what I'm doing is working and it's so worth it. Yes. Does applying the principles from whole brain connection or whole brain parenting solve everything? No. But it gives you the tool set and the skill set and the mindset to be able to help your family no matter what's going on, right? And then we help our own kids hone those skills, so that there is more peace, there is more connection, there is more confidence. Okay. Lilia says, my macro wins are to keep showing up and doing the work. So Lilia keeps showing up and doing the work. And honestly, that's how anything gets done. I mean, even here with Whole Brain Connections, I just show up every single week because that's my commitment. And I've been doing it since February, which is actually really, really good for me, because I'm not the most consistent person in the world. I really am an in the moment type individual. So the fact that I show up each week it's reaffirming to me that I'm totally committed to you and to this family that we've created here. Okay, last one is Allie. Allie says, just prevented a tantrum by teaching my son the value of a proper trade. His sister grabbed his Squirtle, which is a Pokemon character, and he wanted it back, even though he wasn't playing with it, right? Have you ever had that situation where one of your children grabs a toy and the other child, it's their toy, right? Well, they don't want their brother or sister to play with it. They weren't interested in it, but now they want it, right? I calmly explained to him that he can trade her for something she would want more than fighting with her. He offered her a necklace, which she wasn't interested in. He tried a balloon that they had left over from New Year's, and then it just clicked for him. He came running back into the room with her, Squirtle in his hands and 2 Pikachus in her hands. Proud mama moment, right? So her son went in the other room with the sister. He figured out something that she wanted more than that Squirtle, worked it out, right? This is problem solving. And for so many of our uniquely wired kids, this is a skill they really have to practice. It doesn't necessarily come natural to them. They often, default to frustration and irritation and intolerance. Yeah, so it just is more difficult for them. So as we help them, we talk them through, right? So I'm assuming that Allie kind of took a few breaths, pushed pause, right, and said, okay, what skill do I need to teach here? Okay. The name is Thoughts Are Things by David Moon. My light is kind of being weird. Thoughts Are Things by David Moon. Yeah, excellent book. Really great to have around. If you don't want to get the book, I'm going to put them on every single day. So you'll actually have the actual thought to discuss and then the writing he has on each page too. So I'm actually giving you everything that's in that on that day in the book. Okay. Let's see. You might need to give me permission to see your name for those who just say Facebook user. Happy New Year and best for this year. Yeah. Yes, Happy New Year for everyone. Awesome. Okay, so those are our wins. And like I said, I have an exciting announcement about next week. I'm going to be creating a workshop with Candy Uweta, who is an occupational therapist. She's been working for 15 years with kids specifically. And we are putting together something called the Whole Brain Movement Workshop next week. And it's a 3-day workshop. So I'm going to talk today about neuro-movements, and obviously that's somewhat of an introduction to next week. For many of you, you've heard about these neuro-movements here either in the workshop or on another live with me, and the power of movement and how that helps organize the brain and the sensory system. And for many of our uniquely wired kids, they have challenges with their sensory system. They have challenges with their behavior and with their sleep patterns. And these neuro movements and tools that we're going to be teaching in depth next week really help our children who otherwise haven't gotten the input that they've needed for whatever reason, whether it was from a traumatic birth, or they're adopted, or they have trauma in their background, or maybe they have had some major stresses or difficulties, or maybe they are challenged with learning or have some diagnoses, right? All of these things, these simple movements can really, really help organize the body, which also organizes the brain. And then the child is more able to self-regulate, problem solve, work through frustrations, learn, sleep better, right? I'm a huge proponent of these simple neural movements. And so I want to just talk a little bit more about them today. Okay. Thanks for that link, Jen, for those who want to get that book. Thanks. So whole brain movements, right? These are movements that help connect the whole brain. Now, when babies are developed in utero, the brain and the body just miraculously, God has created this imprint in the cells to just create this body, right? And part of the development of the brain, and we've talked about this before, is movement. Movement within starting at just, a few weeks in utero, the baby starts to move. And that movement helps coordinate the body. It helps integrate the sensory system. It helps connect the brain and to grow the brain. And so when the baby is born, many of those movements that they were doing in utero are used to come through the birth canal, to take their first breath, to create an environment in which the baby can survive, right? We've talked about this, that fear reflex, and we talked about the Moreau reflex, which is that when a child is just tiny and there's a bright light or a loud noise, or you accidentally kind of tip their head down below horizontal, they'll reach their arms and legs out, take a deep breath, and then cry. Okay, those are all built into the brain stem. And so these simple neural movements that we're going to be going to in deeper next week help to integrate the sensory system and the brain stem. And as the input is there, it organizes the brain in a way in the sensory system so that the child has greater access to more parts of their brain. So many of our kiddos that are constantly have anxiety or constantly in fight or flight, many times these neuro movements can help get them out of that continual state of fight or flight. And that's super important for our uniquely wired kids. Now, here's the thing that's amazing about these movements. And I'm going to talk about some of the things, some additional things that these neuro movements help with. And some of these might really relate to your child, or they might relate to you. So I use these neuro movements often when I need to regulate myself, when my physical body and I just feel overly tired, confused, upset, and I just need to take it down a notch. I will use these simple neuro movements as well, just laying on the ground, and I will do them myself. Okay. So let's see if there are any questions here. I'm loving this. Oh, good. I'm so glad. All right. So if you've been to my workshop, I teach one of these movements in the workshop, and it's so important because there's something called the developmental pyramid, and it's this pyramid that many of you have seen. That at the foundation are these neural movements. So when a baby is tiny, it's using these movements to help build the brain up and its ability to function in the world around it, how it's able to take in sensory information. And for many of our uniquely wired kids, they have sensory challenges, or we might not know yet, but as we learn more about this, you might identify, oh, my child has some sensory maybe challenges or sensory preferences. And as we understand this developmental pyramid, we're able to make sure that our child is getting these movement inputs so that it can organize the rest of their brain. Okay, our child's ability to self-regulate, to focus, to learn, to problem solve is all at the very top of this pyramid, which is the neocortex, which is the part of the brain that as a mammal, you know, other mammals don't have the ability to think and to plan and to have foresight, to learn how to read and write and express themselves, right? But our children don't have access to those skills if their brain is still disorganized. And there's a number of ways that I have helped kids and families organize the brain. We've used movement, we've used music, we've used other games and activities that help give that sensory input to organize the body and organize the brain so that our children are able to move throughout their daily life, school and home and relationships with greater ease, where they can just not feel like they're constantly wound up, out of control, feeling disconnected. Okay, so these simple neural movements are so powerful in doing that for our children. And they can be used from the time they're small all the way up for the rest of your life. So if you are feeling some disorganization or lots of anxiety yourself, or if you're having a hard time sleeping, or maybe your parents are, these simple neural movements are really powerful for anybody at any age. And that's what's so wonderful about it. If you didn't get all that movement when you were a baby, it's okay. You can start now. If you or your child had an accident, right? Or had some major trauma, and so now they're having a difficulty sleeping or focusing or learning or not being in fight or flight, you can do these movements to help calm the nervous system by organizing the brain. And so I just love sharing the power of these neuro movements. And next week, it's like I said, it's a 3-day workshop, 90 minutes each day on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. It's called Whole Brain Movement Workshop, and I'm going to have the sign-up page and everything ready tomorrow with a few bonuses this week. If you sign up, you'll get some extra bonuses so that we can get those who really feel like they want to dig deeper and learn these principles so that they can apply them with their own child, or honestly in their own classroom. there are lots of teachers that will take these neuro movements and they will teach them to the kids in their classroom. I have a really cool story to tell you. One of the families in the coaching group, her son, and her story is so powerful. And she started these neuro movements, and her son had never slept through the night. And he was, I believe he was 7 when she started with these movements. He had never slept through the night. He always would come into her bedroom. And so since he was born, she's always been woken up. Now the child is 7, right? You think, wow, this should have, maybe already been handled, but it hadn't. And so she started these movements. And from the first day that she started these movements, he has slept through the night. And when he had a more difficult night, he was actually able to put himself back to sleep. He was able to self-soothe himself. And that's a skill that some children and some adults don't even necessarily have. These movement gives us the capacity to be able to soothe ourselves because our nervous system is being calmed. So now he's actually teaching these movements over Zoom to his classmates, which is pretty amazing. And he feels so empowered because he's learned these, he's seen the value that they've had and the difference that it's made for him. And now he's teaching his class and telling them and explaining what they're all about. So such an empowering moment for a uniquely wired kid. As we're teaching these things to our kids and we're helping them through movements and we're helping them through self-regulation and our parenting approach, right? Creating this friendly environment, our kids start to gain that connection with us, the family, and themselves, and it empowers them to be able to share what they're learning and to step out in the world with greater confidence, with greater peace, and have increased success. So these neuro movements for the families who are really getting dramatic results in my coaching group, they're doing the movements. Now for some kiddos, these movements are hard because they might actually be too much input, meaning that their nervous system is at a state where even these tiny little movements are irritating or they don't like them. And that's okay because we have another individual, Jen, who's one of the coaches. Her son was the same way. She wasn't able to actually touch his waist to move him. He couldn't really stand the input. And so my suggestion to her was when he's in bed, go ahead and push on the bed. So he's getting that gentle neuro movement, but she doesn't have to touch him. And she did that, if I'm not mistaken, for a solid 4 or 5 months. And after that, it took that long each night to do it to the point where she could now actually do some of those movements by touching him. Okay. So some of our kiddos are extremely sensitive, but the input is still possible just by moving the bed. And for some kiddos, if moving the bed while they're awake is still too much, then I suggest moving the bed once they're actually asleep. Okay. Think about this. When the baby is inside the womb, that baby is getting these little neuro movements all the time inside of that amniotic fluid, and the mother moving and walking and doing daily life, that baby is getting that tiny input. It's developing the baby's brain. And so when a human baby is born, they are absolutely incapable of taking care of themselves. And some people call the first 3 months of life actually the 4th trimester for a baby because they are not fully functioning. Many other animals, the word animal, when they are born, they're able to get up and run and go. But for a human baby, it takes a good 3 months before that baby can hold something, can really make good eye contact. It feels like it's like, okay, this is a baby now. I remember as a mom, when my babies would get to 3 months, I'm like, okay, I love 3 months and on, because the first 3 months they are, they're still in such a mode of protection and feeding and helping that brain develop enough that it can really take in that sensory information and function in the world. Okay, so these little baby neural movement, let me talk to you about some of the other things that these movements help with, okay? These movements help with creating less meltdowns. So if you have a child who is easily triggered into a meltdown or just chaotic behavior, these movements help calm the nervous system and create organization in the brain. The second thing that these neuro movements do is help improve the child's routine and the capacity for the child to follow a routine during the day, because again, their body's more organized, the brain is more organized, they're able to plan. Over time with that input, they're able to access the higher levels and all the learning centers of the brain. These children and adults are able to sleep better, okay? And they're able to get themselves back to sleep. So this is an ability, these movements help us regulate ourselves better. They lower anxiety for the same reasons. Again, that nervous system is being able to calm down. It's getting these gentle inputs that the information is already programmed into the brainstem. And so it just kind of turns on that program and it starts to organize the brain. These children are able to have better coordination, okay? Improved focus, helps them to be able to focus. Increased tolerance, and actually it reduces sensory challenges like touch and sight and sound and smell. So these neuro movements help reduce, if you have a child who gets agitated very quickly because of smells or lights or sounds, these neuro movements help organize the brain, so those are really reduced. It increases confidence. So when these things are working and our children are sleeping well and they're able to self-regulate and they're able to focus and they have less anxiety, their confidence goes up, right? Their empowerment goes up. So wonderful. They're able to improve their social skills. Okay, so when our brain is more organized, when our body is more organized, right, and we have less anxiety, greater focus, ability to communicate, our social abilities go up, our emotional intelligence goes up. Like I said, these movements also help increase vocalization. That's some of our, and Candy will share some of the families that she's been working with these neuro movements and how they have helped in her occupational therapy business. It's been amazing, and she loves them. So that's why I'm excited to have her next week to help us learn more about these. It increases empathy, right? Because when we're in a calmer state, when our brain is not, kind of on fire, like in this anxiety mode all the time, we have greater empathy for one another. We're able to recognize ourselves over time. Oh, this is when I'm feeling really anxious. Here's something I can do to help with that, right? That goes along with self-regulation. These movements also develop bonding, because these are movements that you would give to your child for just, 2 to 5 minutes a day. That's it. Something really, really doable. It increases social engagement. Many kids who are on the spectrum, when they do these neuro movements, their engagement with the world around them increases. Their vocalization increases. Their ability to communicate increases. And the ability to care for yourself increases, right? Because the more that we're understanding about ourselves, the more that we're able to communicate and work through what's going on, the greater self-care that we can have for ourselves. And those neural movements that drastically improve behavior, right? They drastically improve sleep, self-regulation, focus, and learning. Okay, when our brain is organized, when it's getting the input that it needs, it's like food for the brain. And it actually turns on all the learning centers in the brain. And the child is able to move throughout its life and its day with greater ease and happiness, right? We want our kids to be happy. So next week, I'll tell you just a little bit more about that. So we've got next week for 3 days on Tuesday, starting at 1 o'clock Mountain Time, because now I'm living Mountain Time. So that would be 2 o'clock Central, 3 o'clock Eastern. If you can't make it to all the classes, it's okay. They'll be recorded and you'll be able to access all of those as well. And on the first day, we're going to be talking about the parenting approach. How do we approach these movements? How do we get ourselves into a state that's going to really have the greatest effect on our children and on ourselves? So that's going to be day 1. Day 2, we are going to go really into the depth of these movements, show you these movements. If we have time, we'll even watch you do some of these movements if possible, and give you some feedback on that, set you up on a schedule, help you have those tools to know what's enough, how to do those movements, what to look for, what signs that are showing that maybe it's too much input, right? So we're going to really equip you with the information you need to be able to do these movements first for yourself, is always what I say. Do those movements for yourself and then help your child. And then day 3, we're going to be going over some other neural movements, some other whole brain movements that are helpful in self-regulation, in the moment help to calm the nervous system. We'll be doing some different yoga poses, as well as some more additional breathing exercises and other tools that are going to help round out the whole workshop so that you can take this information and begin working with yourself and then your child immediately. Okay, it's going to have a greater breakdown of the information. We're going to be able to answer questions for you. It'll be in a live Zoom room. We'll get it all recorded for you. I will be setting up that page today, so if you are interested in it, just give me the rest of today to have it all organized so you guys can sign up for that if you would like to participate in that 3-day workshop. So I'm super excited about that. And I'm so glad that Candy's going to come and help us, because then you can ask questions to an occupational therapist. And occupational therapist works with kids, specifically kids who have sensory challenges, kids who struggle with movement and doing everyday things like eating and writing and reading and moving and just doing the things that you do every day, tying shoes, right? Working with being able to problem solve. And so she has so much knowledge. I'm so excited to have her with us and helping us. Okay, so let's see if there's any questions. Does anybody have any questions for me? Go ahead and put those in the comments as well. Okay, let's see. Anything else here? So any questions about the neuro-movements we've talked about today? If you have a win that you'd like to share, let us know. Something good that's happening in your family. Or if you have another question, even a parenting question, I'm happy to answer that for you. Just go ahead and put that in the comments. Awesome. Okay. Doesn't look like I have any questions. Thank you so much for being here today. And being a part of this community, because we have strength in numbers. And I'm excited to continue to create more content this year to help really hone in on the coaching and on the Family Thrive Academy. Got some incredible things coming up. We are in February going to be having a Quiet the Contention workshop, and I'm thinking I want it to be focused on teens and tech. It's one of my ideas I've got going on. So if you're interested in getting some help in that workshop, that's the free 5-day workshop that I offer to everybody, friends, families, anybody that's interested in learning more about how to quiet the contention. And specifically, I'd like to talk about teens in this and technology and how we can help our kiddos with technology and to help kind of quiet the chaos and the contention that can come along with that, along with other parenting approaches. So I'm excited to share that with you guys. We're putting that all together. If you missed the self-regulation workshop and you would like to get that, Jen, if you would post that link. Oh, it looks like she already did it. Perfect. Teresa, here is the link to purchase. Awesome. Thank you, Jen. You're always a step ahead of me. If you'd like to purchase that, I'm just almost done with the download email. So as soon as you purchase it, you'll receive an email that has all of the videos, the audios, in case you want to just listen to it, and all the workbook and the bonuses. So you can access all of that right through that email. So just give me a tiny bit of time and I'll have that all linked up together. And it's so good to be with you guys and to be a part of your journey. I'm excited. I've got some cool stuff I'm studying this month, as well as applying these thoughts or things. I am excited to share more with you over this week. I will be doing quite a few lives, I'm sure, popping in, talking more about the workshop that's coming up, getting those bonuses lined out for you so I can give you as much as I can. Like, I want to be able to offer as many tools as possible for you so that you guys can get the results that you're looking for in your family. And if you feel like maybe you put off some of these principles for a little while and you want to have a fresh start with this new year, we are here for you, excited to support you on that journey. Everyone who's in live coaching, I'm excited to be with you guys a couple times more this week. If you're interested in being coaching, there is a link to sign up for that Family Thrive Academy, and that's a really kind of a high touch where I have I do private coaching with you. You're part of the coaching group and have access to a lot on our membership site. So look into that. We'd love to have you in our group. Okay. All right. That's it, guys. Have a wonderful day. And I'm glad that I could pop in here and share a little bit more with you. And we will talk to you soon. See you later.